We're back on the show. It's John Pollock and Robin Black with you. UFC 188 is coming up Saturday night, June the 13th from Mexico City. And it's a fight that has been discussed for years at 155 pounds. Finally going to get to see it. Eddie Alvarez and Gilbert Melendez. Gilbert Melendez joining us on the line just before going into fight week and down to Mexico City. And Gilbert, let's just start off there. Was this a fight? I mean, how close did this fight come to fruition years ago? Or was this something that was always kind of a fight that had been discussed but never came close to being made?
I think it was the second thing. I think it was a fight that was always discussed, but just it didn't line up, it didn't add up, and there's some of the higher, businessmen in the sport, the owners, Scott Coker, Bjorn, and those are the guys that made some of the decisions at the end. But I respect them as a fighter, and just always wanted to challenge myself against someone tough. So there was times where it kind of got pretty close, but it never got that close.
Gilbert, I was just, we commentate a lot of old fights here, and I was commentating Jake Shields versus Kazu Mizaki today. And I got to thinking about that era. You were fighting on Rumble on the Rock and Shudo and Pride and Rumino Sato and Kawajiri and all those guys. You're only 33. You're at your prime right now. But do you ever get a chance to think back to how different that time was and how pioneering you guys were?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you're talking about Jay Shields versus Mizaki. That was Pancration, right?
Yeah, Pancrase.
I didn't get to go with them on that one either, but, it was interesting. There was one day, we're trying to explain people to the sport we do, and then overnight, you try to explain to someone, and they say, hey, everyone does that. I know everyone's a fighter. So, yeah, we are. I feel like we are pioneers. We went to Japan when it was the Mecca out there and fought in shows called, like, Shudo, Pancrase, and Pride, and those are different shows out there that a lot of people didn't know about, out here. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to look back at the journey and just continue the journey.
One of the things I notice about that, or you think about now, is some young guy comes up and he watches hundreds of people have fought before. They've trained in a gym, they trained jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and they learned to strike. Back when you guys were doing it, people didn't really know exactly what they were in for. I mean, the other guy might have known the death touch. You know what I mean? Like it was really a different mental thing to go fight then.
Yeah, no, it really was. It's really unexpected, and no one speaks. Not many English speakers out there, and you just go to hostile territory. And I thought that was part of being the warrior, was kind of going to hostile territory and step into the unknown and challenging. And people are booing you, people don't want you to win, and it's fun doing that. And it just made me a better, stronger mental fighter. And Jake and I are very mentally strong, I think, and I think fighting in Japan has a lot to do with that.
Was this fighting in Mexico, Gil? Was this something that was, probably not something that was an available option for you a few years ago? Is this kind of just a perfect scenario for you against an opponent that it's long been discussed, fans wanting to see this fight, and it just so happens to be taking place in Mexico? Is this kind of just the perfect situation for you?
Sure, timing is everything in the sport, and right now it's the right time, and it seems right for me. A fight in June 13th, that's about when I wanted to fight, Mexico City, oh, that sounds really cool. A pay-per-view, yeah, Eddie Alvarez, that sounds about right. Let's try to make that happen. I mean, it wasn't rocket science to make sense of that fight. I'm Mexican and everything, so for me it was something, you just kind of make, you observe, you and your management team make an observation, and we look and we make a decision together, and you push for it, and it works. So yeah, I think it was we envisioned it and we made it happen, and I'm proud of my team for that.
When you look at Eddie, there are similarities between you and him in basic philosophy, in that you guys are both masters of all the advanced basics. We're not going to do the craziest stuff out there. We're going to do what we do, and we're going to do it perfectly. Do you kind of see that that's how it lines up, like the best meat and potatoes fight you can possibly find?
Sure, we're both aggressive fighters. We both like to come forward. We both are mixed martial artists. We're tenacious fighters. We mix up our shots with our punches. Very similar,
Yeah.
And two guys who don't like to back down. So, yeah, it is that matchup.
Now, when you get to Mexico, obviously that you're going to be fighting at elevation. Is there anything significantly different you have done to prepare for that aspect of things?
Yeah, I'm actually in high elevation as we speak right now.
Nice.
I'll come down to sea level for less than 24 hours just to catch my flight from SFO to get to Mexico City. So by the time I fight on fight night, I should be about 14 days in elevation. I know you probably need 4 weeks to adjust, but about 9 weeks, 10 weeks out of my fight, I came out here just to dabble in elevation. And I wouldn't say I was 100% adjust, but after just 5 or 6 days and hard workouts here, you feel an extreme adjustment to it out here. And it does hurt the first few days, but after about 5 days, I feel a decent adjustment.
I know that you've talked a bit about this earlier this week, Gil, in regards to just a brand new era that we're going into with the Reebok deal kicking off in July. And it seems that, a lot of fighters, there are some that are waiting to see how this affects them, but a lot, let's not skirt around the issue. A lot of them are going to be losing money on this particular deal, and it seems a common thread that a lot of fighters just wish that they had some kind of negotiation to this, some kind of say in this, because it's the ones that are making these decisions. It's not their pay that it's affected. It's fighters like yourself. Is that kind of your philosophy, your look at this Reebok deal?
Well, I don't know about making decisions, and if that's like, if I feel like I have that power, I'm not the owner of the company, and that's Lorenzo, and that's Dana. So it's hard to say to have a say. It's their company, and they do what they need to do, and you also feel like you're part of the brand, and you have to trust that they're making the right decisions for the business and for our future, and I understand where they're trying to go. Again, with that said, personally, I got sponsors giving me thousands of dollars a month, and you have monthly sponsors, that trying to give you money to help you survive. That's what my sponsors do. They pay me monthly, and that helps me survive and pay my bills. So getting into the politics is one thing, but just taking a personal effect, yeah, it personally affects me. And, it was a great way for fighters to make more income because we're far from financial freedom. So, that's the part that I think is just a shame.
Gil, when I look at this fight, you were talking about how both of you guys mix up, your striking and your shots together in certain ways and stuff. There's one real basic thing that you always see Eddie Alvarez do, and he always seems to want to have his hips lower than his opponent almost all the time, whether he's the one wrestling or he's the one about to be shot on. Have you kind of noticed some broad strokes things about his game like that?
Yeah, if you bring that up as an example or something, yeah, he's a smaller, more compact guy. He's probably the taller fighter, the shorter fighter. Yeah, I have. I do my homework. I see his tendencies, and I see some things, I'm doing my research, but he's a guy I've been watching for years.
Yeah.
And I've been kind of envisioning how I'm going to fight him for years and what I would do and how we match up. So
that's exciting, man. That's exciting.
I've done my homework.
I've
done my homework.
I just wanted to also get some of your thoughts, Gil, on just the lightweight division as it stands at the present time. Rafael Dos Anjos impressing a lot of people and surprising many as well, defeating Anthony Pettis. What are your views on the current lightweight champion, Rafael Dos Anjos?
I think he's a stud. I think he fought an amazing fight against Pettis, and he's a tough guy. But he's beatable. He's beatable. He's lost to Khabib already, and it's just how the division is. It's stacked, and it's all about any given day, it's just how it works, you know what I mean? And but I do think highly of him, and he's a tough guy, and I'd love to lock horns with him one day, whether he's the champ or not at the time. I just think he's a great opponent, and you want to test yourself against someone like that. I like that he's a vicious guy, you know what I mean? I like that kind of style, but then the finesse, not that he's not a pretty fighter. It looks pretty to me, but I just like that he's an aggressive, mean fighter. I think that's pretty cool.
That mentality that you have after X amount of fights and titles and traveling all around the world, you still look at dudes and go, oh, man, that guy's tough, so I want to fight him. Like, is that just genetic? Why are you like that?
It's like, hey, you want to fight a big name, business side, and then you also just want to challenge yourself as a martial artist and a warrior, you know what I mean? Also, that's what motivates me. I'm not motivated fighting, somebody who's not, to par or someone trying to make their name or come up. I want to test myself against, who people think are great, and I want to see where I stand amongst it,
Last question, Gil, and then we'll let you go. How was WrestleMania this year? It was in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it was great, man. Paul Heyman's the man. He hooked me up with some tickets, and I was just right next to the ring, pretty damn close, 4 rows back. I brought Nathan Diaz with me, and Crone Gracie, and my cousin, who, we grew up watching wrestling together. And it was an awesome show. Main event was great. All the matches were great. So I enjoyed it.
All right, well, we're looking forward to a great show. Saturday,
yeah.
June the 13th, it's UFC 188. Gilbert Melendez, Eddie Alvarez. After all these years, they are finally going to meet. We are going to have a live pre-show Saturday night, 7 Eastern, prelims at 8, pay-per-view, 10 p.m. Eastern time.
We are so pumped for this fight, man.
Looking forward to it, Gil. Thanks so much for the time.
All right, thank you guys.
Cheers, brother.